Hello, friends. This is AJ, and today we are going to do something different. Welcome to episode 8 of Indie Globetrotter. Today we are going to talk about our little adventure from our recent trip to Colorado and give a shout out to the people of Pagosa Springs. We snowshoed the Rockies at Estes Park. That in itself was quite an adventure. Braving the freezing temperatures and intermittent snow squalls, we hiked the entire way, passing several gorgeous lakes, which at the time were completely frozen. We then went horseback riding at the Garden of Gods, some magnificent natural rock formations out there. And then we drive up 14,000 feet at Pikes Peak, the highest summit at the southern Rocky Mountain Range, all in a span of 36 hours. We went dizzy as soon as we got there, and we passed out for a good few minutes, before which we got out and explored the summit. It's a very common experience for most travelers, very much more so for those who get there already exhausted. You would think that's the adventure we are here to talk about today, and while it truly was an exhilarating experience, we want to talk about something else. From Estes Park, we drove south close to 400 miles to Durango along US 285 and US 160, one of the most scenic highways in the US, gorgeous mountains on either side all throughout the journey. Now, Durango is a tiny town with lots of history, and we have covered it exclusively in this video right here. Check it out if you haven't already. Anyways, it's time for us to check out of Durango and take the same road back to Denver along US 160 and US 285. Only problem, it has started to snow pretty heavily. No problem, we got an all-wheel drive SUV, or at least so we think. We start the journey back along the same scenic route, but this time with the added joy of watching it while the mountains around us bathe in snow. We hit US 160, it's a two-lane highway with no median barrier, one lane going east where we are headed, and the other west toward Durango where we started the drive from. So along the drive the traffic starts getting slow, obviously cautious movements due to a pretty decent snow accumulation on the road now. The plowing trucks are doing a great job, to be honest, but with an active snowstorm there's only so much you can do. The slow traffic turns to sparse traffic, and we only see a couple of cars pass by now every 5 or 6 minutes. We are pretty deep into the US 160 now. There's wildlife fences on either side. There are patches in between though where there are no fences at all, and it's a pretty deep valley on either side of it. We are only gaining elevation as we drive east, bear in mind. We are cautious now as there are some slick spots despite all the plowing as the snowfall takes full speed now. We are discussing our plans in Denver and searching around the car for a quick snack. Pooja finds an orange we picked at breakfast earlier in the day. As she passes me a slice, the car starts swaying to the left. I am no longer in control. I don't want to brake too hard and make it worse. I try to gently nudge it in the right direction. It has its own mind now though, and it sways all the way into the opposite lane. Pretty fortunate there were no cars approaching, else who knows if we might have been here talking about it. Anyways, the slide continues to the shoulder on the other side, and pretty sure if there wasn't a massive accumulation of snow alongside the shoulder, it would have slid all the way down into the valley. Luckily, the heap of snow acts as a brake and our car comes to a stop, tilted to the left. I crouch to get out of the car and head to the passenger seat to lift Pooja out from way up in the air. We are both out of the car now and totally fine, no damage done. The car seems pretty good too. We have a situation though on our hands. The snowing hasn't slowed down a bit and we are stuck here in what appears to be middle of nowhere, with no cellular service on our phones as well. There's not too many cars passing by. One car approaches and stops.
Folks, do you know it takes just 1 second to subscribe to a YouTube channel? So what are you waiting for? Go ahead and hit that subscribe button.
A man gets out of his car and checks on us. He realizes we need to be towed out. He calls a towing truck business, providing them with our exact location on the freeway. Seems to be a local. We thank him and wait for our truck. In less than a minute, a truck comes our way and we think, wow, what a super quick service. The truck driver tells us every second car on the road is in a similar situation, and he is responding to another call. Our vehicle should be here shortly. We knew it was too good to be true. We sigh and wait for another hour and a half for our truck to show up. That hour and a half was pretty interesting too, by the way. While we waited, a state patrol officer stopped by to check on us, and his first sentence to us was, "I'm gonna give you a ticket, you're on the opposite side of the road." And then he smiled. That's the one thing about the folks here. No matter what the situation, never lose your sense of humor. He calls the towing truck and confirms that it is indeed headed our way. and tells us he's going to an accident site close by. And when he returns, if we are not pulled out yet, he will call for more help. We thank him for checking on us and keeping it light in the middle of this pretty intense situation. In between these couple of cars stopping and checking on us, there are periods of absolute silence, and it's starting to get dark now. We are aware that this is an active wildlife area and we are unarmed. With only a heavy metal water bottle for defense, we are as alert as we can be in this freezing cold. We are outside the car, by the way. With the angle at which the car is stuck, we think it's best for us to stay out of it than inside it. Finally, the towing truck arrives though, and it is as if Santa has arrived. Did we mention this was Christmas Eve? No, yeah, so this is Christmas Eve. Most people are off duty. We are really fortunate that these people are working these shifts on this day. The man, very young and someone who seems to be his partner, assess the situation and we wait as he puts his skill to use to yank us out of this sticky situation. He has me sit behind the wheels and ask Pooja to stay out in case something goes wrong. The fact that he mentions something could go wrong freaks Pooja out, and she watches nervously, sitting beside his girlfriend in the truck as they literally jerk the hell out of the car. It slides further down though. He decides to change his strategy now and have me pull in the opposite direction. After several minutes of intense pulling and maneuvering, I am finally sitting on what appears to be a car situated on all of its four wheels, fully balanced. We heave a sigh of relief. We are facing the opposite side now, back where we came from. We thank the man and his girlfriend from the bottom of our hearts, and he suggests a place half a mile along the way from where we could turn the car around and head to Pagosa Springs, the town 5 miles away from where we got stuck. That half a mile until we could turn the car around seems like an eternity though. We finally managed to slowly turn the car around, naturally slightly nervous now. This is a popular time and the place is full of tourists, and we are told there's no chance we'll find a place at Pagosa Springs. The town is 5 miles further. We are steady as we drive, and after what seems like another eternity, we seem to have entered the city. We see a couple of lodges alongside the road. Pooja calls up a couple of businesses, and thank our lucky stars, we managed to find a room at one place. Here's the next challenge though. The highways were well plowed, and yet we managed to hit a sleek spot. Where we are headed is a small internal road, which is one giant sleek spot. We make the turn, drive a few hundred feet, and the rear wheels get stuck. We are once again stuck. There's some activity around though. This seems to be a community shopping center, and some of the businesses seem to be open. People are coming in and out. A car with what appears to be son and dad stop next to us and start pushing us out from the back. We need more strength though, and seeing them, a couple more join the force, and with the combined might of 4 strong men, we are finally unblocked, only until we make a small turn to head towards where we need to be, and the car gets stuck again. The tires are like a baby's bottom, silky smooth, and the rescue team is still around, thankfully, to give us a push. We thank them and we pray that we reach our parking lot now with no more adventures. And we do. It's a very good feeling knowing that you have a place to stay. We make cancellations of our plans in Denver and try to settle down and formulate a plan. We think of waiting to see if the snow settles down and we can continue our drive up to Denver. It's getting dark now. We interact with the locals around, and upon hearing our thoughts, they unanimously urge us to drop the idea of driving to Denver, especially as the road passes through Wolf Creek Pass. At over 10,000 feet, even them with their heavy all-wheel drive pickup trucks hunker down and take it easy. We with our two-wheel drives is an absolute no-go. We give it a thought and decide to sleep on it. Next morning, it's still snowing. We have two choices now, either to continue our drive to Denver or stay for some more time waiting for the snow to settle down. As the locals suggested, sure enough, the state announces the closure of Wolf Creek Pass. Further weather forecast was of continued snow for at least another week. Both the options go out the window. We have to think fast now. Staying put is not an option. Work was starting soon, and there was no guarantee snow would stop in a week. I ventured out to see if I can find some snow chains close by. It was Christmas Day and all the shops were closed. I walked past several closed businesses, and then I came across a cafe. There seemed to be some activity inside. I knocked on the half-shut door, and a young man opened the door and told me that the business was shut for the day, obviously as it's Christmas Day. They had gathered as a private party. I told him I wasn't actually looking for a coffee or a croissant, but some snow chains instead. He invited me inside, and I elaborately explained our situation to him, and a bunch of other folks who seemed like family. They listened intently, told me that they were glad that me and my wife were safe, and all together agreed it would have been a crazy idea to drive uphill to Wolf Creek Pass. I got introduced to the party. They were indeed family. They had traveled from all over, some from within the States, some from Europe. An elderly lady now offered to break out of the party and drive back to her place to check on the snow chains she had at home. She FaceTimed from her home and decoded the size of the chains she had and checked if it would fit my tires. Unfortunately, none of them would work for me. She returned back and they all urged me to drive down to Durango on manual gear, drive super slow, let the traffic pass by, and I should be okay. This entire incident certainly touched my heart. For someone to go out of their way on their special day to help out a stranger speaks volumes of their goodness. That family right there, I believe, captures the spirit of Pagosa Springs. Although without snow chains, that conversation boosted my confidence, and we cautiously embarked on our journey back to Durango, headed to the local airport, one of the tiniest I've seen. All along the journey, there was uncertainty. Whether we'll slide again, whether we will get tickets to Seattle from Durango. Lack of network and the hustle to get out of this situation left us no time to check on the availability of tickets. Without making a single stop, we made it all the way to the airport. Slow and steady, but we made it. I have never been trapped in the middle of an ocean, but finding a rescue ship or an island from being in that situation, I believe is the exact same feeling we felt at that moment. We returned the car at an unplanned airport, rushed to the check-in counter and asked for tickets to Seattle. There were no flights to Seattle. He said there was a flight departing to Denver in an hour though. We asked him to book us on that flight. The person behind the counter smiled and said although there were seats available on that flight, they didn't sell tickets at the counter and I could book it online. Of course, in the middle of all this, we probably forgot this isn't the medieval times anymore. We pulled up our phones and booked the tickets through the app like normal people and boarded on that flight. From then on, it was an uneventful journey, thank God. On that small tiny plane to Denver and then our usual flight from Denver to Seattle, we made it back home hassle-free. It did start snowing in Seattle as soon as we landed, and the snow didn't stop for another week. That adventure is for another episode though.